freedom. Thank you, Lord, for what you've done for me. Thank you, Lord, for what you're doing now. Thank you, Lord, for every little thing. Thank you, Lord, for every song I sing. Said I'm in no competition.
All right, folks, we continue on Smile. Yone Gabon is a visual artist and social activist, while Zara Warner is a trustee of the Earl Warner Foundation. What do they have in common? The arts. And they both want to help emancipate students of the arts into financial freedom. Great to see you both. Welcome
Wonderful to be here. Thank
Smile
you for having
Jamaica.
us.
Let me start by asking, who's Earl Warner?
So Earl Warner is a Barbadian-born Caribbean theater practitioner. In fact, he passed away in 1998. And he's known for his distinctly Caribbean aesthetic. So he was really about creating an art form that is very unique to us and reflects our realities and the ways that we communicate as a people. And that's kind of the legacy that he's left behind. He worked with a lot of notable writers and theater practitioners. Derek Walcott, who he has been named with for the theater in Barbados at the
You said we a few times. We as in the Caribbean, we as in the diaspora, we as in black people. What
We
you
as
talking
in
about?
the Caribbean diaspora,
Right.
of which
I would
Yone
agree.
is a part.
Yeah.
You know, it's all our stories.
Yone, you don't live here, but you're Jamaican.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about your Jamaican roots.
Well, I was born in Jamaica and grew up in Jamaica, and I was born in Kingston and St. Andrew. I grew up in the country, Hanover, Salt Spring, Montego Bay area. And that's my Jamaican roots. I went to Vauxhall, shout out,
Yay.
yeah. And School of Drama, School of Music back then and stuff. So that's kind of just a little bit in a nutshell.
What led you to arts? What led you to drama? What led you to that? Where did that come
I was born, I had no choice. I was born an artist in the sense that the first time I could think about anything, I think about creativity and to create, and that's when I knew that's my direction. And even though here in Jamaica, culturally we don't embrace the children or youngsters in the arts, I really should have people think differently, because for me, I think every aspect of the arts has allowed me to an international stage, not only to an international stage, but to a research-based international stage with recognition as it comes to community activism.
Yep. I think it was Malcolm X who said, we're out of chains, but we're still not free.
Absolutely.
I say that to say, in preparing for this, I read your words. I hope they got it right. Freedom without basic resources and human rights is still a challenge throughout the African diaspora. When we really celebrate Emancipation Day, what I think we're celebrating is the journey to freedom.
Absolutely. How could you think that we are free when we don't educate our people? How can we survive without those basic resources? When you have organizations, much like the trust, and you have business who are, like this brand business, like the Graces, and I can say that, and they don't see the underserved community as a place that they want to spend some money and program some youth so they can think outside of the basics. They can dream. When we don't do that, we're putting something else in their hand, and it's, if we don't put education, and we have to be careful, because that's going to come back to us. Yeah. So we're not free when we don't free everybody by allowing them the basic resources to be able to be critical thinkers and dreamers.
Yes.
Even though some of those companies are making an effort to do that.
Absolutely
I will
so.
defend
And
them.
We can't
just
do
wanna
enough.
encourage more of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
We
I
need to
will
encourage
defend
more
them.
of that. Yes.
Which brings me to Me and My Suitcase.
Yes.
Which is what?
Me and Me Suitcase is a fundraising partnership between Yerne and the Earl Warner Trusts, and we are going to be hosting it tomorrow at the UE Regional Headquarters at 6 p.m. And we're inviting everybody to come out and hear Yerne speak about his journey, about his particularly about his activism through the arts and using it as a tool for empowerment. And we'll also be having an auction and a pop-up exhibition of his work. So that's just an idea of the scope, the wide range of work that he has been turning out.
So I'm very excited to talk about Be Miss Suitcase, as Zara is in one aspect. I remember when I first met with Karen Foord Warner, the wife of the late Earl Warner, and yourself, and we talked about how can we collaboratively bring some attention through education here. I went and I spoke later on, because it has to happen some kind of way. I got accepted to show in the National Gallery, which I'm doing a work on invisibility and visibility of Black Mexicans living in Mexico. And the interesting thing, I had to make a piece that spoke to my Jamaican heritage as a person who lived in many parts of the world. And I had this amazing conversation with Lydia Chang from Prime Trust, a Cambio, who's our sponsor. And they said to me, we will bring you to Jamaica and we'll give the trust at least some money to really get it going. So that had me thinking, I should think about suitcases. You have a story, Zara have a story, and we pile them together and we do move around, right? So these stories that we tell, it tells about us as a people, us as a race, us as Africans.
Yeah. If we go back, and I think at the start I mentioned it, if you use the arts, how do you use the arts to empower, to emancipate? How do you...
Okay, so I'll give you a simple example. In 2010-12, I did a dissertation in Tanzania on the killings of people with albinism, visibly invisible. I had people like Yellowman as one of my interviewer, and I looked in the Americas, I looked in Europe, and I looked in Africa. And where the problem was happening is in Tanzania. I went to Tanzania for 7 weeks. I went to USC. And USC would give me some money, but they would not send me to Africa. So we talk about activism. I went to my mentor and friend, CCH Pounder, who had her community literally come together, gave her a house, donate money, and I was fully funded with the African Millennium Foundation to go to Africa. And 7 weeks later, I came back with a full research. There's a museum exhibition. There's a lobby. I lobbied at the United Nations and at the fronts both in Geneva and New York to bring a visibility to these people and what was happening. We had a day set aside. We not only had a day set aside, 2 children, Bibiana and Tindi Mbusha, are now living in the United States because of my art.
Okay. Tell me about the pop-up exhibition.
So the pop-up exhibition is going to be Yerne's work, predominantly getting a sense of the scope that he's been exploring, these same projects that he's been speaking about. But we will also be having an auction with donations from noted artists such as Yerne himself, Brian McFarlane, Philip Supersad, Ted Williams, and Patrick Weldemeyer, and with donations from Carolyn Cooper, Tanya Nethersoul, Pat Ramsey, Dr. Brian Morgan, Ambassador Anne-Marie Bonner, and Will Iton. And it's going to be up for auction both physically and online.
It's tomorrow?
Yes, tomorrow,
What
6
time?
p.m. 6 p.m.
Where?
At the UE Regional Headquarters.
How much?
It is free admission,
free.
but donations are encouraged and welcome.
Tell me about this.
So you're looking at this piece, and what you're looking at I created this piece specifically for this. So you're looking at the woman who's carrying the ship on her head. That ship is the Windrush. So I like to look at current issues and make the story about it. And this suitcase, if you're looking, you're seeing a black and white suitcase. She's wearing a colonial garb, and you see children with education, with tablets in their hand. And this suitcase tells our story, the sky on the sea. We've been known that since slavery, and we're still traveling as a people. That brings you to Miami Suitcase.
Okay.
And this piece was created specially for the event.
Zara,
so-
you get the final word again. Where, when, and what time?
So tomorrow, Me and Miss Suitcase, our co-sponsors Prime Trust, we're bringing you Me and Miss Suitcase with Yerne Gabon at the UE Regional Headquarters at 6 p.m. tomorrow evening.
Great to meet you both.
Thank you so
Pleasure,
much.
Thanks for coming.
pleasure.
Absolutely.
All
Thank
right,
you so
visual
much.
artist, social activist, Yerne Gabon, and trustee of the Earl Warner Foundation, Zara Warner. All right, folks, up next, what does Emancipation Day mean to Jamaicans? Soon come.